Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And this video is Magic Monday. I have Michaela with me who did the DCP in 2022.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Awesome. So first question I'm going to ask you is, what was your emotion when you first stepped into the DCP?
So when I first stepped into the DCP, I was super excited. I had submitted my application just kind of on a whim, not really expecting anything. And then when I found out that I got it, I was like, oh my, I have to make a decision right now. So I took about a couple days and was like, okay, I've always wanted to do this. It's something that I was going to do right after I had graduated college in 2021, but I just didn't. So I was like, this is my last chance. I'm going to do it. So I was really, really excited. Um, and yeah, I mean, emotions are always high and low throughout any kind of change in life. So I was definitely very excited when I first started. Yeah.
Awesome. And then what was your role?
So my role was Magic Kingdom Day custodial and guest services. So that is not the role that I thought I was going to get, not the role I wanted originally at all. So again, with the highs and lows of the emotions, I was almost devastated when I opened up my letter basically on my portal that said that I was going to be Magic Kingdom custodial. The only plus to that was that I was like, oh, I'm going to be working in Magic Kingdom, favorite park, perfect. Um, but yeah, I was pretty upset at first about getting custodial. I was convincing myself basically that, oh, it'll change by the time I get there, it'll be fine. It did not. But
Oh, no.
what I can say is that custodial was so much fun. It is definitely a role that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, that's nasty, whatever. But it was a lot of fun. There were definitely some bad days, but there were just as many, if not more, good days.
That's amazing. I love how you turned like the one like, oh no, but now it's a positive thing. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
definitely is.
Yeah. And then the other question is like, why did you want to do the DCP?
So I wanted to do the DCP because I mean, I've been going to Disney slash loved Disney since I was probably about 3 years old. And I'd always said, oh, I want to work there one day, or I want to do this, I want to do that. I had this dream of being a princess at Disney World. I mean, like every little girl, pretty much.
Yep.
But I wanted to do that so bad, and I didn't really know about a DCP until one of my friends from college went to do it in 2020. So she actually was going in the spring of 2020. So she got sent home from her program. Um, it was like right before COVID. And so she got sent home from her program. But that was the only reason I knew about the DCP. And
Mhm.
when she was telling me about it, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. But and I'm sure this has been explained before, but basically you only have it's certain criteria that you can even do the TCP. So you have to be 18, you have to be enrolled in a university or be recently graduated from a university, community college, or college. So I was right at the very end point. You have to apply within 18 months of your graduation. So I applied within, I think I was right at 10 months after my graduation when I applied. So I was at the very end of the period where I could actually apply to do the DCP. Um, and so I was like, well, it's now or never. So I applied and here we are.
That's awesome. I love how you explained it too, because I think some people don't realize like some like when you can and when you can't. So that's awesome
Mhm.
that you added that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then like what did you do on your days off work?
Days off, I packed a lot into my program. So I was only there for about 4 months. And so when you sign up to do the DCP, they tell you that it's a 6 month commitment. However, there is a loophole. It's you have to be there for 6 calendar months. So I was there August, September, October, November, December, January. but I went at the very end of August and I left at the very beginning of January. So I was technically only there for about 4 months and a couple days. But to Disney, I was there for 6 months. So I packed a lot into those 4 months because I knew I did not have a lot of time. And I had a lot I wanted to do and a lot I wanted to see. So most of my days off resulted in me going to the parks. I had a book and I forgot to bring it down here with me, but it's the everything I learned from a little Disney golden book or something like that. And so I like had already marked it before I went to Orlando, and I wanted certain characters to sign certain pages. And I was like, this is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna give this to my kids one day. And so I was like, all right, I have to plan this out to make sure I have as much time to get these character signatures as possible, because that's one of my favorite things to do in the park is characters. So I planned that out very meticulously. I didn't get all the signatures still, but that's okay because I'll just keep getting them every time I go back. But yeah, my days off were basically park days. Me and a couple of my custodial friends we'd sign up for a virtual queue of Guardians in the morning. So we would go to Epcot first, and then we would jump around a little bit, or we would go resort hopping, that sort of thing. We did a lot of activities. Yeah. And then every once in a while I was like, I am exhausted. So I would take a day to myself to just hang out at Flamingo Crossings Village. And I would just relax by the pool or go into the game room, go to the gym, that sort of thing. So
That's awesome. You're actually the first person I've interviewed who've actually stayed at Flamingo.
really, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
stayed at Flamingo West. So East was like the main campus. But I was at Flamingo Crossings West. So it was just me basically over there of my friend group. So I would go to East a lot to hang out with my friends and that sort of thing. But
Yeah. Is there like a difference? Is it kind of like the same thing, just like different areas?
they're pretty much the same, like campus wise. I
Mhm.
will say that East has more of a courtyard area than West has, because that's where they host the welcome parties. So when you like go and start your DCP, your first Thursday usually is like your welcome party. So it's always themed something different. Ours was themed Under the Sea. So we had Little
I love
Mermaid.
that.
Yeah. And so it's like um it's basically a different theme every time, but then you get like a special character meet and greet. So that was always fun. And then it's just a big party for your first night there.
That's so cool. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing your main good character was the Ariel, if it's Under the Sea?
It was not actually, it was Sebastian, which is like you do
Oh.
not see Sebastian hardly ever.
Mhm.
I've seen him like, or I have not, that was the first time I met Sebastian, but usually sometimes he'll be on like a cruise or something like that, but it's definitely
Yeah.
in the parks that you meet Sebastian. So that was a nice treat to meet Sebastian.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. And then wow, this is gonna be a mouthful. Give me 1 second. Oh, what did you think you learned while working with this? Is it an internship or is it just the program?
So a lot of people call it an internship because some people are able to use it as a college credit internship. Um,
Mhm.
I did not use it as that because I had already graduated.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I had met on my DCP did already graduate from college. Um, so I knew some people that were in college and actually were doing like classes online while they were working. But a lot of the people that I had met were college graduates or in their senior year, like they were already pretty much done with college. Um, but I think the biggest thing I learned was just how to work with other people. Um, Being patient, definitely. Um, and enhancing my community service skills. So working with a lot of different big personalities can be challenging sometimes, but it's definitely rewarding when you feel like you've made an impact on somebody's life or made their day a little bit more magical, or able to go up to a little kid and say, hey, guess what? Mickey's meeting over there. You should go say hi. Um, and that sort of thing. So I definitely feel like I learned a lot about just people and working with people. And that was good for me because I'm going into the medical field. So I needed to get some more experience working with people and different types of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, that sort of thing. And I definitely was able to do that through the DCP. So I'm very grateful for that experience. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome. I love that. And then what was it like working in a big company?
It definitely, it was scary at first, because it's a lot of people and you don't realize how many people are actually back behind the scenes working that are not on stage working. When you first get there, you do not realize how many people are actually in one area. It's a lot of people. So it's a little hectic, but I found it was much better to have my little circle and my circle be small, but with people I knew I could rely on and we could do things together and I could go to for help and that sort of thing. So I definitely recommend, like, if anyone's going or thinking about doing the DCP, when you start, get to know your leaders, get to know your coordinators, and find like that one leader or coordinator that's just like you click really well with. That way, when you have a question or you need something or you're not really sure if you can ask to trade a shift or whatever it may be, you have that person you can go to and you trust them and you respect their opinion and that sort of thing.
Cool. And then what was your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job was definitely the freedom I got. So with a lot of the roles that you would expect with the DCP, it's merchandise, food and beverage. Those are like the two big roles that everyone wants to be in. You want to go and work at the shops and interact with people, or you want to do the fun themed restaurants or quick service places and that sort of thing. And I thought I wanted to do that too. Or attractions, of course, attractions is also in there, but attractions is definitely one that everyone's like, I want to do attractions. I am so glad that I was custodial, and for mainly the reason that I had a lot of freedom. So yes, I was assigned a certain area to be in charge of. So for example, one day I was in charge of Gaston female restroom, which is back right beside Be Our Guest, right behind Gaston's Tavern. But that entire area is technically my area. So I had a little bit more freedom in that, well, if I had just gone and cleaned the restroom and it was all good, I could go walk around, sweep a little bit, interact with guests. If I like wandered down to Ariel's grotto, not a big deal. If I went up to like where the carousel was, not a big deal. As long as I was checking on my area, I was good. A lot of other roles, you cannot do that. You have to be right there for your entire shift other than your breaks. So I really loved that with custodial, I had a little bit more freedom and I wasn't in the same exact area or the same exact attraction every single shift. I pretty much worked, no, I did. I worked every single area of Magic Kingdom you could work. And I worked at all 4 parks. So I made a point to make sure that by the end of my program, I had at least done 1 shift at all 4 parks. Plus I also did Typhoon Lagoon. So that was really cool and a big accomplishment on my part, because that was one thing I set out to do at the very beginning of my program. I really wanted to say, yeah, I worked at all 4 of the different theme parks in Disney World.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there one like that you loved more? I'm sorry if you said that already.
Um, I think working at Magic Kingdom was like the best thing that could have happened. I absolutely loved working the Halloween parties and the Christmas parties. I worked almost every single one of them pretty much. and it was a lot of fun, you know. I mean, these guests are coming in with their different costumes on for the Halloween parties, and even for the Christmas parties. A lot of guests come in and they are decked out in like the cutest little like Santa outfits or
Hmm.
Mickey inspired Christmas themes. So it was a lot of fun working the parties for sure. I would say working at Hollywood Studios was also kind of fun. I worked in the like rock and roller coaster area, that area. So that was a lot of fun. Just to see like guests nervous before they got on the ride, but then like come off and they're like, that was so fun and that sort of thing. Cause that's one of my favorite rides at Hollywood Studios. So that was definitely a lot of fun to work there.
Yeah, I love Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios so much. It was like my top two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last question is, what advice would you give people either in the program or thinking about doing the program?
The best piece of advice I can give anyone that's in the program or thinking about doing the program or have already filled out their application and are waiting for their role is to keep an open mind. That is the best advice I could give. Because you're going to get your role or you're going to be in your role and you're going to think, is this like what I actually want to be doing right now? But keep an open mind. You never know how things are going to surprise you. And it's Disney. I mean, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good time. I definitely would recommend doing the program to anyone who can. It is a great experience. You make some amazing friends. I actually was just talking to my um, two like best friends in the program last night, and we were talking. We were like, "Oh my goodness, it's almost a year of us knowing each other. That's kind of weird." Um, but and one lives in Hawaii and one lives in Michigan. So we talk all the time though, and it's great. You know, you make
Mhm.
friends with people that you never thought you'd meet. My roommate was from Brazil, so that was fun. We had we had a great time. I would say keep an open mind is the best advice I can give because you never know what's going to happen at Disney. I mean, there's something new every single day. I can't even tell you that there's a typical day um, on the job because there's not something different, something new, something exciting, something sad happens every single day.
Mhm. That's amazing advice. I just gotta say, like, I'm gonna take talk because I'm also wanting to do DCP.
Mm.
And this is kind of why I started actually the series is to hear from people who've actually worked there, done
Yeah.
the program, so I could hear it and like get to know people and also just know what it's like. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I will definitely say I am always open for people like messaging me on Instagram or whatever, asking questions. I had someone who recently messaged me because they're starting their DCP and they're also doing custodial. So I was like, awesome, ask me the questions, any questions. So I'm pretty good about responding and I try to answer questions as best I can without, breaching contract and all that sort of thing. But
yeah.
yeah, but now I work as a affiliate of Academy Travel, so I can plan your Disney vacations, I can plan your Universal vacations. I'm certified through both Disney Travel and Universal Travel for that, so that's how I am staying in the loop of Disney and keeping that magic making alive.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love how like if you do something with Disney, you can always use outside of Disney too.
Mhm.
Or stay in the loop. So like I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you answered all the questions. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was really magical.
Yes, of course. I'm glad I got to.